the CAT team played an important role in the COTS program from my perspective, in that at each engineering discipline that it takes to achieve a spacecraft design or a mission design, Orbital ATK found a counterpart at JSC. Early on, it was clear that how our org charts lined up, they were misaligned. Things didn't always connect, in parallel ways. And so my advice to future projects that are starting up in that first 3 to 6 months of the project, you need to do a lot of coordinating to ensure that there's a counterpart lined up with a counterpart and that they're communicating with each other. Because if there's no communication, that's a sign that you're going to have a problem in that particular area. Now, looking out into the COTS project and how we succeeded in that, yes, we actually had some challenges in a few areas. There was good alignment, strong communication. There are instances where I actually changed my org chart in order to create a box that aligned with a counterpart at Houston, because I felt that was the right way to emphasize the parallel interaction between the teams. There were several instances where the alignment was there, but the interaction and the weekly contacts and just sharing of information wouldn't occur. It took strains to make those individuals communicate, and that was I would say in a couple of instances it was on one side or on the other side. And you have, as a chief engineer, you have to identify where those strains are and where the people aren't communicating, because that's where your risk is. That's where something is going to get misunderstood or a ball is going to get dropped. But by and large, I'd say at the 90% level, all very helpful people, very open. I've said more than once to people in a variety of forums that in my almost 30-year career now, this past 7-8 years, I've learned more working with the JSC engineering personnel than I've learned in the prior 10 years, maybe prior 20 years as a spacecraft engineer. Now, particular instances where things went very well with CATS interactions, micrometeorite orbital debris is one of those instances. We had no knowledge of how to do that. And early on, we had to create that parallel connection that I described a moment ago, an orbital engineer to a JSC expert in MMOD. Yet where does this orbital engineer belong in the orbital org chart? And that's the tricky part. In the end, it wasn't, you might think it might be a mechanical engineer because it involves mechanics, ballistics, materials properties, but in the end, we assigned a systems engineer to that activity and then linked that person up with the experts in Houston. And that systems engineer went and got trained in the tools used to conduct those analyses, were shown how to use models, were guided in how to identify material stack-ups that conformed to a body of data that existed that wouldn't need any more testing because we had the characteristics, and then to identify material stack-ups that would need additional testing. And then that engineer collaborated with the JSC counterpart to gather up material samples, get them to the White Sands test facility for the ballistic testing. That was all very successful. There are a number of instances elsewhere in the COTS project where like successes occurred. I believe in the avionics and software arena, there was a lot of strong cooperation there, and we were very successful in our stage tests as a result. Stage test is a large software-to-software interface test that occurs several months before you fly the mission. And there were other areas. I would say that in the mission ops arena, our mission ops team early on established a good collaborative working environment with their counterparts in the Flight Operations Directorate. And so that also, I think, was instrumental in our success. Having those teams speaking the same language, understanding how each other operates, and that led to success even in the stresses that we had during the demonstration mission.